everyone, in this video I'll give you the best tips and advice on how to get your first credit card. So essentially it will be step-by-step guide what to do to get the best deal out there and to actually make the best of your first ever credit card. Just a bit of a background, I got my credit card fairly recently, about 6 months ago. The reason I got it so late and never actually needed to have a new credit card, I always try to stay out of that and make purchases that I can afford straight away. But at the end of the day, I need to build my credit score, I need to build my credit history, so then I can use this credit history and credit score to get some larger purchases, like for example getting a house on a mortgage or getting a car deal. So I decided about 6 months ago that it's time for me to get my first ever credit card. And this is just some of the tips that I wish I knew back then when I was applying, and now I just want to share them with you. The first one might be quite obvious, and it's check your options. So before you do any research on the best credit card deals in the UK, 10 best deals or 20 best deals, make sure you check your options and know what you're actually eligible for. There is no point doing tons of research if you're only eligible for 2 or 3 credit cards. And this one I'm actually learning on my mistakes, because as an international in the UK I was only eligible for like 2 or 3 credit cards, and I did tons of research and there was no point for it at all because I literally had such limited options to choose from. So when I say check your options, I mean go on the websites like Experian or Money Supermarket or Compare the Market and actually run the tool to check based on your credit history which credit cards you will be eligible for and in which credit cards you will be pre-approved. Often on those websites you will also get much better deals than on the credit card providers' websites, so it's really worth checking there first. The reason a lot of people are worried about going on these checker tools and seeing which cards you are eligible for is that it might hurt your credit score, but it actually wouldn't, as there are 2 types of credit card inquiries, soft ones and hard ones. So using the credit card comparison tool is actually a soft inquiry, so it's not gonna hurt your credit score, along with, for example, you checking your own credit score. Hard inquiries are such as applying for actual credit cards. So once you apply, if you apply for too many credit cards, then yes, it will hurt your credit score. But I'm planning to do a video on how to build your credit score, so if you're interested in this one, stay tuned and subscribe to the channel. So the second tip is check your credit score. Again, checking your own credit score is a soft inquiry and it's not gonna hurt your credit history. But what would hurt your credit history is if you apply for a credit card and get rejected. So if you're rejected by a credit card provider, you might be restricted in terms of the credit cards you can get in the future and loans you can get in the future, so it will reduce your credit score. The thing with checking your credit score is you might not be approved for any credit card based on your past history, or if you don't have any credit history at all. So if you've checked your credit score and it's very bad, it's very low, or basically non-existent because you didn't have any past credit history, I would suggest to hold off for a while before getting your credit card. So things like bill payments are also accounted for in your credit history. So if you just pay your bills on time for a little bit longer, like water bills, energy bills, phone bills, or if you pay any existing loans on time and build up your credit history to actually be eligible for some credit cards to improve your credit score, then you might have much better options for credit cards, and your credit history report would also not be hurt by credit card rejections. The next tip is pay attention to the annual percentage rate or APR, but not too much attention. So this one depends largely on your buying habits and how you're planning to use your credit card. So if you're getting your credit card purely to get your credit score up, to improve your credit history, and you're planning to pay your balance in full every single month, then you probably don't really need to worry about APR because you'll never actually see any interest on your credit card statement. Whereas if you're getting credit card to make a big purchase, for example, if you always dreamed of this gaming laptop and now you're gonna get it, or if you're gonna get a new TV and you think you might not be able to pay off your balance in just 1 month, but rather you'll spread the cost across several months, that's when APR starts to matter, and that's why you need to pay very close attention to what your interest is gonna be. On the other hand, if you're just buying groceries on your credit card, this amount will stay quite stable over the month, so it's not very likely it's going to fluctuate a lot. It will fluctuate a little bit over the months, but you'll spend more or less the same money on your groceries, so it's likely you'll be able to pay it off next month because you were able to pay it off in full last month. So basically, don't freak out if you see 25% APR. If you're purely getting a credit card to build your credit score, you'll never ever see this interest on your bank statements. There might be one payment that you miss to pay in full in 10 years time, but then if it's just one payment, if you've been consistent across months and years in paying your balance in full, it shouldn't matter that much in your decision to get a credit card. I talk more about how APR is calculated monthly in my previous video, which I will link in the description down below. Tip number 4 is read at least the summary box on your credit card offer and understand your terms and conditions. I do really get that you don't want to read a 10 pages document on everything the credit card provider has to say to you, and it's all written in very legal language and really hard to read, but at least have a look at the basic fees and annual costs of the credit cards, because this might mean the credit card can actually not be suitable for you based on its transaction fees. For example, if you travel a lot and the credit card has very high international transaction fees, you might want to swap it to another credit card. I, for example, traveled to France a couple of months ago and I didn't realize I have a high international transaction fees on my credit card because I don't travel that often, but then I looked at my credit card statement and there were about £10 of fees, which I didn't expect to see there, and now I just will know for the future that I'm not gonna use the credit card abroad, or at least I'm not gonna use this credit card abroad. I might apply for a new one that has better conditions for international travel. I imagine if you travel every month for your work, this will add up to quite high amounts of money. Or if you go to places where you regularly pay in cash, then you need to really pay attention to your cash withdrawal fees. Cash withdrawal fees are likely to still be high on any type of credit cards, but you might find better deals if that's what you're looking for. So you really need to consider your own circumstances. Think where you're spending money, think how you're going to be using credit card, how you want to use it, and then read the summary box and decide if this is the best deal for you. Tip number 5 is becoming an authorized user. So becoming an authorized user essentially means that someone with a credit card account adds you as a secondary account holder to their credit card account. And that would mean all the features of the original credit card account will impact your credit history. So you need to make sure it's someone you trust, it's someone who had the account open for a long amount of time, that has no missed payments, and with low credit utilization rate. So credit utilization rate is the total amount of money you borrow divided by the total amount of money available for you to borrow. So if the account holder has an account and account holder has all these features, and you can actually trust the person that is not going to ruin your credit history forever, then you can become an authorized user to their account. The good thing about this, you don't even need to use the account to actually get your credit score built up. As far as the primary account holder actually uses the credit card and not misses payments and being a good and responsible borrower, you'll get all the perks of actually improving your credit score, while you don't need to do any financial activity or to actually buy anything to get this credit score improved. The only disadvantage of this is that not all credit calculators are actually considering the authorized user activity, so it might not be relevant for everything you do with building your credit score and your credit history, but it's still a good way to start building your credit history, potentially very early on in your financial journey. Tip number 6 is make good use of your interest-free period. So if you're planning to buy like a TV or a laptop or a new iPhone, and you also want to get a credit card, and these two events just happen to happen at the same time, then you might as well make good use of the credit card, especially if you get a credit card with rewards. So essentially, if you get a credit card, then get this new iPhone on your credit card, and then you can get the rewards in terms of cashback on this new iPhone a while after, and then spread the cost of the iPhone across 6 months or 3 or 4 months, depending on the promotional offer, without actually needing to pay any interest at all. I didn't make much use of my interest-free period, to be fair, but looking back now, I wish I did. There were some purchases that I wanted to make at the time, but I just didn't think to make them at the same time that I got my credit card and while I had this interest-free promotional offer. Lastly, make sure you pay attention to your rewards. So if you want to make a big purchase on your credit card right now, I know you wouldn't look at rewards that much, but they might matter later on. So there are 3 major types of rewards: cashback, points, and miles. So if you're planning to make big purchases on the credit card, then cashback might be very beneficial, especially often it's cashback on specific types of purchases. So make sure you understand what's the best purchases to make on your credit card and which purchases you are wanting to make on this credit card, so these two agree and you actually get the best cashback. In terms of points, you can also use your credit cards to get some points back, and you can redeem these points for some goods and services, or for actually paying back your balance on your credit card, which is also a big advantage. And finally, the miles. So if you travel a lot, miles will be very beneficial for you. You can then spend them on flights, on holidays. So make sure you understand all different types of rewards and all the rewards that can be offered to you by different credit card providers, and you select the ones that best suit your circumstances. So here's the best 7 tips of getting your first credit card. But above all of those, make sure you're spending your money responsibly. You don't max out on your credit cards, on your credit limits. You're actually thinking of what you need to buy, you don't need to buy, and you're not buying the things that you can't afford or can't pay back. And ideally that you're paying your balance in full every single month to avoid interest being incurred on your account. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe down below and check out my latest video on how do credit cards work.